Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is episode 12 of yet another inventory system, but wait. Last time we dealt with player statistics, adding them to the screen, updating the screen, so on and so forth. In this episode we're going to get back to that inventory proper, and we're going to deal with stacking. At the moment our inventory doesn't stack, we just have a continuous list, and because we have a limit set on our inventory, we can quite quickly fill up our inventory. So when we are stacking an item in inventory, we have to have a few things to consider. First of all, first one is, can the item stack? Back in our data asset we set a boolean, can we stack this item? The next one is, do we have any stacks? If we do, where are they? And how much space is in that stack? The third thing we need to consider is, what do we do if there is no stack? Then we then go ahead and just add the new item if there's space in the inventory. Then we also have to consider, okay, I have a stack, you're trying to add 5 items, and I only have space for 2, what are you going to do with the other 3? So we have to look at how we're going to deal with that. Obviously we don't want to leave them or dump them on the floor or lose them. We want to see whether we have more stacks available, or can we add them at the end. And if finally we can't add them because we have no more partial stacks, or we have no more space in inventory, then we just leave that quantity there, and we deal with that at a later date. There are different ways of dealing with it. We can just reduce the amount, or we can just destroy it, or like you see in some other games, we can spit out a bag or something like that. But we'll deal with that at a later date. Today I'm not going to worry too much about that. So without further ado, let's get to it. It's quite a bit of coding. It could be quite a long episode. Excuse me. So most of our work today is going to be done in our inventory component. So let's go ahead and open that up. I do apologise for any vehicle noises outside. I will try to get rid of that in post. At the moment we've just got 3 functions: basic add item, basic remove item and index. Basic remove item we probably will never use again, but we'll leave it there anyway. Remove item and index we've proven works well, and basic add item works perfectly well. So we're going to add some functions and then we'll fill them out. The first function we're going to add is called find partial stack. Another one is going to be add item to stack, and the last one is going to be add item to index. We've got to remove item at index, we're going to add an item to the index. The first one we're going to deal with is, it's relatively simple and other ones depend on it, is our find partial stack. Now make sure you do have it selected, and it is the correct one here. It's so easy when you're making a list up here just to go ahead and write the code and realize you're suddenly in the wrong function. So first of all we need an input. We're going to call it item, and it's going to be of our type item struct. We're going to need an output, and this is found, because we know whether we found an item, and that's going to be a boolean. We're going to want to know how many are in that stack, So we're going to call it quantity in stack, integer, and we also want to know where that stack is in the array. So we want an index, that's also an integer. Okay, so we'll disconnect that, move that out of the way for a minute, we don't need that yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our content, and we're going to for each loop through our content. First thing we're going to do is promote this to a local variable. I'm just going to call it L item. We're going to go ahead and we're going to break this item. We're going to get the item here. So we can right click and just ask for item. Get item. Oh, get L item, wrong one. Item. Get item here. And we know it's right when it's got the V here. No, I've got the wrong one again. What am I doing wrong? Right at the very bottom, get item. Got the F here for the function. Break this, same as we did before. Now at this point we don't care about quantity or index. All we care about are these the same items. So we can do that via our data asset. We can say, are these data assets equal? I.e., are they both donut, can drink, whatever. You can go ahead and hide quantity and the index for a moment. If this is true, we want to do something. So let's see what happens if it's true. Now, if it's true, we want to grab our local item now. We want to break it. Now, from our data asset, we want to get the max stack. And this is what we set up when we set up our particular item in our data. How many can we allow it to stack? Now we care about the quantity. So we're going to say, is this quantity less than the max stack? In other words, the quantity that we have in there, is it less than the max stack, meaning there is space? We're going to do another branch, hold down B, get a branch. If it's true, we've found our stack, so we can go ahead and we can add a return node. Now, by adding return node to a for each loop, automatically stops the loop. There is a for each loop with a break, but then that will still continue and go out and do something in the completed. Whereas this, we can straight away stop it and carry on with the code. So we're going to copy these two, Control C, Control V. We can go ahead and hide unconnected on this one. And on here, we're going to say, did we find it? Yes, we did. How many are there in the stack? And where is the stack? Okay, so that's dealt with when we find something. What do we do when we don't find anything? We don't have anything already in there. We're going to copy our return node, paste it here. So it goes all the way through your inventory and it hasn't found anything. We're going to get onto completed. Found is going to be no. Quantity in stack is going to be 0, obviously, because there's 0 found. The index we have to be careful of, because all arrays start with index 0. So we can't leave it at 0 just in case code tries to deal with something that's in that index. So we use -1. Now, -1 is a default index. It means basically it's a null index. It doesn't exist. It can't exist. So if we see -1, we know it's not valid. Nothing's going to happen. That's that completed for that one. The next one is we're going to say, we're going to do is add items to index. Now in this one we need two inputs. First one is an integer, and it's going to be the index. And the second one is going to be quantity to add. So how many do we want to add at that index? Okay, and output wise, we want another integer, and it's quantity remaining. So we've added something to an index. That index may well have less space than what we need, so there could be some items remaining. So let's deal with that. So let's go ahead and break this for a moment. Move him out of the way. Drag in our content. We're going to get reference at this index. Okay. And we're going to promote that to a local variable because we need it elsewhere. So L item connect it like that. We're going to go ahead and break this the information, and we're going to get the quantity, and we're going to add the quantity to add, which comes from the function. That's why we've got the little f here in this version of Unreal. And also we're going to need to know what the max stack is. So we're going to get our max stack from our data asset. Index we don't need, so we can go ahead and hide that with a little meter. So we're going to say, is this less than or equal to this? So in other words, if we had 4 in here, we're trying to add 1, it will be, and our max stack is 5, it's going to be equal to. If our max stack was 6, it's going to be less than. So we're going to do a branch here, we're going to connect that to here. And now we have some more options. Okay. We're going to handle the true first because it's quite simple. We can copy this, paste them up here. Index, we can get index. And because we're using by reference, make sure you get the by reference, because if we try and say get here, we have 2. We have copy and reference. If we get a copy, you'll see it's got a round pin. Index is a diamond-shaped pin. It means we can alter information inside here directly, whereas here it's just giving us information. So from here, we're going to say set members in item struct. And the member we want to set is the quantity, and the quantity is going to come from here. The new quantity we are going to be setting. Okay. Fortunately, we will have a few cross wires, but there's not a lot we can do about that. And then we get our return node, return it, and there's 0 quantity remaining because we've successfully managed to do this. So let's handle the false. So first of all, we are going to make another local variable. So go down here and say L quantity remaining. and that is also going to be an integer. So from the false, we're going to get our L quantity remaining. We're going to set it. From our plus here, so it gets a little bit messy, I'm afraid, but I'll try and neaten it up as much as I can. Put a reroute node here. We're going to say we're going to get this minus let me just put another reroute node there. Bring this down. Minus the max stack. So in other words, if this is more, so in other words, if there are 4 in the stack already, we want to add 2, would make 6. Our max stack is only 5. This would output 1. We have 1 left. Then again, we're going to copy these 3. And we're going to paste them down here. We're going to set this. So if we have items remaining, we can only set this to the maximum of the max stack. Move this. Add a reroute node here. I'm going to move this up here just a little bit. Put our reroute from our reroute node to here. That's up there, right away. So we now have made this as a max stack. Copy our return node. And we can then get our local quantity remaining and plug that into here. And I believe that is all there is to it. Now this function is a pure function. We don't need any inputs because we're not setting any external variables. We're just ordering this data, and it works quite well as a pure. Okay. But technically we shouldn't because we're using this, but it works. If we get any problems later on, we can always change it back. It's no big deal. So that's the add item to index. And the last one we're going to do is add item to stack. And this is the big boy. It uses the functions we've just made. So that has 1 input and 2 outputs. Let's go ahead and put the input, and the item is going to be item struct. The outputs are going to be success. Me. And the second output is going to be reason. And that's inventory result. Okay. We can go ahead and return for now. We've got quite a bit of code to do in here. So we're going to add the item. First thing we'll do is make it into a local variable, L item, because we will be using it in more than one place, so it's just easier that way. And then we're going to drag in our find parcel stack. We're going to connect it to that. The item we're looking for is this. From the found, we're going to do advance. And We also need another local variable. We're going to call this L quantity remaining, same as we had before. Okay. So now from our partial stack, we've got an index and we've got a quantity in stack. So if we found it, we want to deal something with it. So we're going to get our local quantity remaining. We're going to add that to here. We're going to get our add item to index here. Join that to there. Our index to index. Now we need our quantity to add. We're going to get that from our local item. We're going to break it. Quantity. And we can hide the unconnected pins. Okay, so that now says we found a stack. We've added an item to an index. Is there anything remaining? So here we is where we check that. So we get our local quantity remaining. We say, is this less than or equal? Is this less than or equal to 0? Advance. So we don't know, make it look a bit nicer. And if it's true, means that there's nothing left. We can go ahead, click success, everything's nice. Now if it's false, what we want to do is now we want to see, okay, we have some here remaining. We want to find another stack. Okay. Now remember that we're looking at how many we are trying to add to here. So we have to be a little bit mindful of that. So the first thing we're going to do is drag in our local item. We're going to set this because the quantity of this item has now changed. So we're going to get our local item. We're going to break it. And here, we're going to make it. We could we'll do it this way, but what we could do is actually let's go ahead and try that. We could just set members. So sometimes I deviate from my reference because I have a better idea as I'm showing you guys. And that would be the quantity remaining. That's the only thing we want to change, so we're going to change that. I'm going to reset it to be on the safe side, but it should actually change that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to recursively run the same function within a function. You can do that as long as you've got an out, and we do have an out. You have more than one out in here, so it doesn't go into a continuous loop. And what we're going to do is we're going to literally run the same, run our cells again. We're going to add item to stack, and the item is now this revised item. So it's a different, slightly different item. Okay. So let's now deal with, we didn't find a stack. Well, that's quite easy. Get our basic add item. And the item is our item from the function. and this handles our return node. So does it find it? Reason. So if it doesn't, we can't add it because we're full, it will let us know either way. And for now, I think we are complete on that one. So let's implement it. Let's test it out. So we're going to go into our blueprints folder, parent blueprint, a game item. And here where we've got our do something, we're using basic add item. We're going to say add item to stack instead. The item data is still the same. We can connect this pin here. We can go ahead and put this reason down to here. And we can go ahead and connect those two and delete the original one. So we're now calling our new function. Okay, let's just give it a test, see if it works. Compile it, save it, let's run it. Okay. First of all, let's just see. Picked up a can, we picked up a can of drink, we have a can of drink, quantity 10. Okay, I need to change that because I changed it. Let me just go ahead and change that because when we were playing around testing before, I added some of these that had silly large amounts. So let's just put them all to 1. 1. I think everything else is 1. Yeah, I think I also did the same with the donuts, so let's make sure we go ahead and change those. Yes, I did. That's all I did. I don't think I did it with the first aid kits. I think they are all what singulars. Okay, so go ahead, pick up our can of drink. Look, we have 1 can of drink. We can drink it, it disappears, everything's fine. Okay, good. Now let's pick up more than 1 can of drink. 1, 2, 3. Click on tab. We only have 1 entry. We've only taken up 1 of our inventory slots, and we have 3. We click on drink. Click back. We're down to 2. So that works. That's fine. We can go ahead and add some more. Just make sure it works the overflow. So here's our can of drink. 5 is the max stack. We try to add 6. We've got 1, which is fine. Okay, so our donuts, just go ahead. I'm going to add them all in one hit without looking at our inventory. And we can see we have donuts. So I said there was a box of 12. We got 8. We're quite happy that we can pick them up. Now our first aid kits, I believe, don't stack. So we've got 2, and no, they don't stack because they're a large item. So this works absolutely fine. We have a stackable inventory, and we're using a lot less space. So now for 6 cans of drink, we're only taking up 2 slots instead of 6. For 8 donuts, we're only taking up 1 slot instead of 8. So much more efficient, much nicer inventory method. Okay, I'm going to call it there for today. And the next one we're going to look at not quite sure what we're going to look at for the next one. I'll have to decide, but the next episode will be coming out fairly soon. Please like, subscribe, share my videos with your friends, check out my Patreon, or buy me a coffee if you feel like you want to support me. Thank you for watching. See you next time.